welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today is the effervescent Bridget D. This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. Indeed we are, and I was just commenting with Bridget that I have a different intro for every co-host and combination of co-hosts that I do the show with. And it's been a while since we played the one that was just with you, and I've forgotten what I'd said in it, to be perfectly honest. But it still holds true. You are effervescent. So, I mean,
good. I'm glad. Thanks, Walt.
You bring a great energy. That's fabulous. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining me. It makes it so much more fun. And hi, Sam, in the live stream. We were talking before the podcast today about the summit that went off last week, and I was telling you about the work I've been doing, getting the replay videos ready, which is an amazing amount of work. It's actually more work than actually doing the summit in some ways, because it's so much editing work.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just think of it this way. I think that the number that they use in the movie industry is that for every minute of film, they have to put in like 10 hours of work, something like that.
Oh.
I mean, it's and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Now, I don't have to put quite that much in because this isn't a professional movie being made, but even so, there's just a lot of work that has to be done, a lot of processing too. There's a lot of times where you just push a button and you're waiting for the computer to just, create all the stuff, create all the pixels and so forth, because it's creating everything frame by frame, So
and you're good with IT. So, I mean, I can't imagine if you weren't what you would be experiencing right now.
Well,
you could appreciate it that way, kind of.
It does help. It really does. And in fact, all of the things that I've done in my life contribute to what I do now, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to have those extra skills that you develop over time, all kind of coalescing together. Yeah. But I'm by the same token, I also have to say I'm really looking forward to the day when I'm hoping it's going to be with this package, because I'm going to be putting it on sale in addition to releasing it to people who were attendees, basically to generate some more income out of it. Yeah, I really want to get to the point where I have replaced the gardening income. That's what I'm trying to do, replace it and then grow it beyond that. And so, that's the focus. And it's terrifying, to be honest. That's always been true for me. Any entrepreneurial venture, and I've done a number of things entrepreneurially, but anyone where you're trying to make that first step, and that's what this is, a first step in this particular venture, is terrifying. I would have thought it would have gotten easier over time. I think it actually gets harder.
Really?
Yeah. It's really
I would
weird.
think it would start to get more thrilling. Like, let's go into this one. I've already done this and this and this. I could try this. I could do that. No.
well, that is part of it. That is part of what you experience. I mean, we are polarity people, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. When we're up, that's what we feel. What you're talking about right there. When we're down, we're talking about what I feel.
Yeah.
So it just depends on where you're at. But even so, I mean, there's an innocence, not an innocence. What's the word I'm looking for? An ignorance. There's an ignorance that you experience the first time you do something entrepreneurially, because you don't know what's going to happen. You have no prior experience to compare it to.
Yeah.
And you can talk yourself into being terrified of it. But more often than not, you're just kind of, I'm nervous, but I don't know what's going to happen here. But any entrepreneur that I've ever heard of, successful or otherwise, has had lots and lots of stuff didn't work out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, our friend Monique doesn't like to call it. Yeah, our friend Monique doesn't like to call it a failure, and I understand what she means by that. It's good to change the words around to make it more positive. But nevertheless, you go through stuff that just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And the more of those you go through, the harder it gets. That's the part that's hard, because now you get all this back experience telling you, well, that didn't work. Well, that didn't work. Well, that didn't work.
Yeah. That's when you're like, oh God, I got to kick that voice out. At least I do. Or else I'll let that sucker go for, not anymore, but I used to for a while, and that just didn't get me anywhere.
Oh God, yeah. They're persistent voices.
Yeah.
And they know exactly how to get you too. They know which crack to go in through.
Yeah.
So, but one of the things that I did after the summit is I decided to take, because of the wonderful presentations that Dan made both during the summit and in his workshop, I decided to take his Kickstart course. And Anne-Marie and I were actually talking about it afterward. We said, why haven't we done his course before now?
I've also thought that before. Like, I've looked him up and looked into his stuff, and I was like, I'm not really sure why I never actually have done that.
I don't know either.
I heard him at the summit,
I have no idea why, but I finally decided to take the $500 Kickstart package and start working on it. And of course, one of the things he has you do is a gratitude journal. And now that I've done the Taya boot camp and I'm a little bit more acclimated to journaling than I was in the past, that isn't quite so difficult. It's actually a little bit easier this time around. But in the process of doing that journaling, I'm confronting, if you will, those feelings of, oh my God, I've been through stuff before, things haven't worked out and so forth, and trying to find ways to turn that around. And this is a point that Dan makes, that a lot of people make, a lot of teachers make. You want to be feeling it in your heart. You want to make it emotional rather than thinking it, getting the brain in the way and so forth, which for me has always been a challenge. It's particularly a challenge now. And so I find myself as I'm writing saying, okay, so what exactly does this feel like that I'm saying here? I know what I think it says. Yeah. I mean, the thinking part, I can say that, but what exactly does it feel like? And that's where I begin to realize, well, not just begin, I've known this for a while. That's where I realize, okay, there's where the blocks are. Those blocks I've been dealing with, that's where they're at. Yeah, they're in that space right there. Fun. Yeah. Because you don't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense. Yeah. We protect our own selves by doing all that. But really, it's like just our old belief systems coming back into our head that are not going to serve us good. So it's like, so yeah, I get that. Yeah.
That's where the brain steps in and says, okay, that's not the path you want to be on. So switch it around now, but don't listen to me.
Yeah. Because all that fear is like, last time, but doesn't mean, yeah.
It was also, it was an experience going through the workshop that Dan did on Friday. And you were talking about how you wish you'd been able to be there. Yeah. I wish you'd been able to be there too. That was a really great one, because everybody who was there had really amazing experiences going through that. I don't know what he even calls that. We kind of, between the two of us, we called it blasting through your blocks, but it needs to have a better name than that. Because
I don't hate the name, but
no, I mean it's evocative. Yeah, it makes it pretty clear what you're trying to do. But it's that there's no actual blasting that goes on. It's actually very quiet.
It's more of like a fun name. Yeah.
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 Yeah. But I know in my own case, I was really curious. Now I deliberately put myself last. I wanted to make sure everybody else had the experience, and just in case we ran out of time, I was willing to forgo it. But I really, really wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So anyway, everybody else was done, and I went through the list. There was only one person who hadn't done it, and she was in a location where she couldn't do it anyway. One of our listeners, Barbara, was able to do that. So we saved that for another time. So I said, okay, now it's my turn. I'm going to do this. I think everybody was a little surprised I was going to do it. But I knew for sure I wanted to do it.
I thought you would wholeheartedly. Yeah.
Yeah. There was no doubt about it.
Why not?
The only part that was a little bit of a stop me for a moment thing was Dan and I have been doing the podcast together for a couple of years now. He knows me real well. He doesn't need to do this in order to read me. Yeah. And I even pointed that out to him. He says, yeah, I got to get my own conscious mind out of the way here.
Right. Yeah. That's funny.
But it was an interesting and intense experience. And the reason it was intense is I was so intently focused on doing that thing. Because remember, I'm running a summit, right? I'm the host. So I'm keeping the thing going. I'm keeping us on schedule, making sure everybody's questions are being answered. I'm doing all that stuff. And now all of a sudden I'm shutting all that off and focusing just on this. And the only way I could do that was to do it with intensity, so that everything else was just outside of any feeling, thought, impression, sense. I mean, it all had to be gone, because I really wanted to do this.
Yeah, that's true. That must have been a little difficult now that you're explaining it.
It would have been difficult if I hadn't had the intensity. The intensity actually made it very easy.
Like, you went in with the intention already knowing, like,
yes.
Yeah.
And there was no doubt. I want to do this, and I know I'm going to have to get all this stuff out. So I got this, So anyway, he can't even tell us exactly what he does, because it's so intuitive. But I can kind of generically describe, he asks everybody different questions, and his questions are in my words, not his words, in my words, is to kind of get behind your conscious mind and let the true feelings and true stuff come out. And then based on what he hears and sees, I mean, the way he described it was that's when he puts his what's it called? Autism, because he's partially autistic.
Mm-hmm.
He puts his autism to work because the autism gives him a high degree of sensitivity to body language and sounds and voices and things like that. So he uses that very intuitively. I doubt that he could teach it to anybody. He just does it so intuitively. So anyway, he starts asking these questions, and based on whatever he sees in your response or in your reaction, he'll ask the next thing, or he'll suggest the next thing, or so forth. So in my case, he asked me, what do I want? And I didn't even need to get myself into like a hypnotic state or anything. I just kind of jumped into there. So I was allowing, and I'm glad I did this, I was really allowing just whatever I felt like I needed to say to come out. And what came out was, I want to get to where I'm trying to get to. I want to get to where I'm going. And if I were to say that consciously, I'd say, what the heck are you talking about? But it was perfectly clear to me in that moment.
Yeah.
Where am I trying to get to? If I had to describe it, I'd say I'm trying to get to a place of much greater financial abundance. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get to a place where the podcast has a much bigger audience. And if I really dare to admit what it is that I'm hoping for, I want to get to the point where I have a television show doing like an LOA Today.
Nice.
And we do have right now. I mean, we're on the local cable access channel, but I mean, like, like a nationwide or in global markets, that kind of thing with a large audience.
Yeah.
Because I keep visualizing to myself. Well, not visualizing. That's not right. The word. I keep imagining to myself, when you're reaching that many people and then bringing in, take all the people that I know now, including yourself, but also my other co-hosts and guests and so forth, who have all these tremendous amounts of knowledge and experience and abilities and so forth, and multiply it by, 100 by that point, or 1,000. And now you got you got this whole army of people who, through a television show, are reaching out to communities all over the world, working with individuals all over the place. I mean, that's what I'm envisioning.
Yeah.
Kind of like David Strickland's model. David right now has his boot camp, right? But he's envisioning within the next few months 25 boot camps, all of them staffed by people who have been coached after they went through a boot camp themselves. Right. So he's basically scaling up, to use the business term. He wants to scale it up, so he's reaching a larger and larger population. Well, I've got the same thing in mind for the podcast.
That's awesome.
I would love that. That gets really exciting to me. So actually, we're doing some great journaling here. I should be writing this down.
When you go on your walks, do you still do your, like, does your movie just change all the time? Your movie in your mind, like.
Well, there are two movies going on here. One movie is an actual video I put together that I actually put into one of the I put on the LOA Today page and in one of my groups about 2 years ago, sharing it with everybody. And I haven't played it a lot lately, but a lot of the time I'll play it once a day. So it's my way of replacing a vision board with a mind movie.
Gotcha.
So that's the one kind of movie. But I think the kind of movie you're talking about is the one that we create in our heads, the ones that we're trying to, or actually more precisely, the one that we create in our hearts, the ones that we're trying to feel into and so forth. And that's a really interesting question, because that's where I often feel challenged. That's where I often feel that's not easy for me to do. I think part of that, because over the years, I have convinced myself that I can't see images, so therefore I can't see images. Well, I'm trying to reverse that now. I'm trying to convince myself, yes, I can see images. I can see them on demand, affirmations to that effect. But there's a lot of resistance there. And because of that, it's the challenge is, first of all, creating the imagery, creating the movie, so to speak. And most of the time, that movie isn't really a visual movie. It's more of a sense movie, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But more than that, it's also one where it keeps changing, because I find that I have trouble daring to create the one I want to create.
Oh, okay.
You may have noticed I've been using the word daring a lot lately. And that's the reason why, because I'm also daring myself.
You want to push out of that, not comfort zone, but
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Without the hammering, that's always the fine line, right?
Yeah.
But
I know
yeah.
it gets hard for me, but that's why, like, sometimes the only times I can do it is when I'm on my walks. Yeah. I don't know why.
Well, you're right. I mean, it's when you're, for me anyway, when I'm out taking a walk, I can leave all the stuff behind that I'm
Yeah, I
having to
guess
deal with
it
that
might be
day.
that. Yeah.
Right. So when you feel freer, then you feel more free to imagine. You feel more free
Yeah,
to
that must be it. Yeah.
try things out. And
Yeah.
plus, you're not talking on a podcast or whatever, so you can you can try to imagine it, and you don't have to tell anybody.
Yeah, right. No, it's weird because I would try it even like in meditation sometimes, and like, I would just step away from it because I wasn't able to do it, but I would be like, oh man, like I really wanted to be able to do that. And then after you told me about like the one time when you did it on your walk, like sometimes that is the only time I can really do it, but I don't mind because I go on my walk like every day. But yeah, it's weird. Sometimes I can only do it then, but you're right. It's probably because I'm finally outside with nature. You're not distracted by literally anything else, other than like, okay, let me make sure I'm not getting hit by a car, but that's about it. So yeah, no, you're right. That probably really is it. But yeah, that one definitely helps me.
Do you find that you're challenged at times in terms of what you're trying to imagine, what you're daring yourself to imagine, and so forth?
Yeah, I think it's also the whole like vibrational thing, like like David says, like when you revisit like what you want and everything, you revisit it from up and down your spiral at different points on your spiral sometimes, So I know when I'm outside and I'm on my like nature walk, I know I'm at the top of my spiral, and I feel like that's why I'm able to better imagine the life that I actually am trying to create and live versus other times when I'm just sitting and trying to meditate, like I'm trying like too hard to picture it or something, or I don't know what it is, but you're right. It's something about just getting outside, and when I'm out there, it's just like nothing else is entering like my brain, and it is just free. It feels free to imagine things. When I'm home, for some reason, like I don't have like a big imagination like you. I don't either. But when I'm out there, then I like I can see it all. Like it's weird.
Which means there's something about our environments that are leading us to feel inhibited.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the environments that are doing it to us. We are choosing to feel inhibited by whatever it is that we're dealing with. But when we get outside, that inhibition's gone. Hi, JB. I just saw JB checking in on the live stream. But that's a very common thing, I think, that our environments are going to affect us, not always for the positive, when we're trying to get into a better feeling space.
Yeah, and I think we're just all really not, I mean not all, but I don't think a lot of people are super really good at like imagining things, because we all kind of were taught like not to. Like that was just like when you were younger you did that, and then it was kind of over type thing. So I do think it's also harder for us too because of that, but I guess it's just that muscle thing. I have to just keep on practicing and whatever, you know what I mean? Not hammering, but doing it on my walks and doing it that way, because yeah, right now that's like the only way sometimes I can.
It's a good point though, because we do get taught, that's not like we take a class and you're going to take a class today on how to inhibit yourself. It's not like that kind of thing, but we do get taught that after you grow up, after you grow out of childhood, well, you leave all those childish imaginings behind.
Yeah, like grow up, you're not going to go do that. You're not going to go, become some country singer or something like that. You know what I mean? Like really, we're all taught like you're going to go to school, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and you're going to make sure you're good.
Yeah, you're going to get a good job. You're going to take care of yourself. You're going to have a family. You're going to all the stuff that society expects you to do, which may or may not align with what you had in mind. If it does, great. If it doesn't, it's a little more of a challenge.
Yeah.
But how valuable it is to know that there is that childhood aspect of it, because once we know that and kind of come to terms with it, it also means we can turn it around and use it, right?
And go back.
Go back. That's right. Because now we know, well, there was a time where I could imagine a lot easier than now. So there's a model for me.
Yeah. And just finding like that place like outside where you can imagine, you know what I mean? So if you have any other tips for me, Walt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do know this. The reason I remember very clearly, the reason I remember posing the idea of using outdoor exercise, particularly walks, to get into a better state, to be able to do the imagining, to be able to do affirmations, to be able to do all these things, is because I also realized that I liked being outside and walking.
Mm-hmm.
And that it was the fact that I enjoyed it so much that I knew was going to make it a higher vibe activity, and therefore would open me up to be able to do more of what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
So really, it should apply to anything that we really like a lot.
Very true.
So the question now becomes, first of all, do we give ourselves the opportunity to even identify those things that we like? And then once we've identified them, do we take advantage of them to do some more imagining in them?
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. And I have to honestly say the answer is sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Yep. Yeah.
Sometimes I do better.
Mm-hmm.
And I pat myself on the back.
Yeah, right.
Because I did better, right?
Yes. And when not, yeah, we
Yeah.
just honestly, me and my husband will joke about it. I'm just like, do better, and he'll be like, do better, and then we'll be like, we got to do better. Like now it's just like a running joke, because like I said it to him one time, joking, like, do better, and it was like, what? And like I don't know. After that, we started hearing it everywhere. So now we just joke around all day. It would be on TV shows. It was like literally everywhere. After I said it to him down the beach one time, and now we just constantly we're just like, oh, do better. You gotta do better. We gotta do better. Like joking around just because now it's just hilarious.
Well, interesting question then. Now that you've done that so much, do you ever pat yourself on the back for having done better?
I do. I definitely always try to. Anytime I do anything and I accomplish anything or see a change in myself for the better or him, I always bring it up. I will cheers to it. I don't care if it's with water. Like, yeah, I try to, I don't think we always as human beings like realize when we change for the better or do something that is good. Like I think we all just like let it go to the wayside, and then like the not great stuff that we do or whatever, we just like down on ourselves. But the good stuff, we just like let it go. So yeah, I definitely try to celebrate all that for sure.
It's a great point, though. It's a very good point that we don't tend to celebrate it as often as we could. But those of us who are self-aware in this way, at least we attempt to do it more. So maybe that's how we can do better. Maybe that's where what do better actually means.
Yeah.
Paying more attention and giving ourselves more props, right?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And if you can make a joke out of anything, do it.
Yeah, that's true.
If you can laugh afterward, do it. You're going to feel better.
Afterward, before, during, hey, wherever. Doesn't matter. If you can get the laughter in, you're ahead of the game. No doubt about that. Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah. So, yeah, these are kind of representative. What we're talking about here are kind of representative of what I've been examining in myself and dealing with as I've been doing the work of putting this stuff together, putting these replay videos together. And I mentioned a moment ago how anytime that I'm trying something new, and this is new, I mean, it's not like I've never done a video before. I have, but trying to put one together that I'm actually going to package and repurpose into another product to sell, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like next level.
Next level. Yeah, that's really what it is that's where I find myself, like, how do you describe it? Like shrinking in on myself. That's where the lack of self-confidence tends to work its way in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that becomes kind of a battle.
Yeah. Because then you can start paralysis analysis, and you could just start a whole bunch of stuff when you're, when that happens.
And I'm really good at that. I am so good at that paralysis by analysis thing. The hardest thing for me was leaving it behind, not doing it. Doing it was simple.
I was just happy that I heard it on your show, because after I heard it on your show, I was like, okay, that's perfect. It stuck in my head, and that's how I was able to stop doing it.
Yeah, because you could be aware of it, right?
Yeah, then I told my husband about it, and then he started realizing when he was doing it, he still like does it, like, but like he'll realize it, and like he's so much better at it. You know what I mean? Like after I heard it on your show. So again, thanks to LOA today.
You're welcome.
Don't
Very welcome.
paralysis analysis. Yeah, it's so easy to do, but it's like maddening. Like I can't even, you know what I mean? Yeah, I can't.
Well, something I've been practicing lately, because I'm such a do-it workaholic type. I mean, all my life, I just dove over it. It didn't matter what vibration I was in, which was actually it did matter. It wasn't a great policy to do that. But my attitude was, it didn't matter what vibration I was in. Was I feeling good? Was I feeling bad? Didn't matter. The work's got to get done. Dive into the work, which is not only mentally, physically, and emotionally exhausting, but it's actually counterproductive in the long run. Unless you're working from a high vibe space, you're working against yourself most of that time. So because of that, I've been kind of trying to be aware of when I have wanted to go that way. And that's been especially true the last few days. And I put in some really long days the last few days. And there have been some times where I probably worked a little bit more than I should. But there have been other times where I found myself in a place where, for whatever reason, I couldn't bring myself to do that next thing. And so I allowed myself the time off.
Oh, good. I was going to say, it's probably just your body telling you need to go chill.
That's pretty much the way I took it. So, good. I mean, to give you an example, I took a couple hours today off just to watch a movie. Why? Nice. Because I was waiting for a particular piece of information. I didn't have it yet. I knew I couldn't do anything to really push it. I knew that if I kept focusing on it, I'd drive myself nuts. So I went and watched a movie.
Yeah, and we'll push it further away too when we do that half the time anyway. We focus on something too much, we just push that away.
And the information came in while I was watching the movie, so that worked out great.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
See, then the clarity comes in when you're, that's awesome. Nice.
So, I'm learning, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm learning to do it a little bit better, to use your phrase. I'm learning to pay more attention to where I'm at emotionally. And I think that's really my theme for the next month, 2 months, 3 months, something like that. Reminding myself, it isn't even, pre-paving is important, but I'm beginning to realize there's something more important than pre-paving. That's pre-emoting, or tying into emotions first. Maybe that's what I really mean to say.
And also just like presence, do you mean? Like just being
presence, but also awareness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to be present in the now. It's another thing to be aware of what are you feeling right now.
Very true. Yeah. You need one with the other. Yeah. Yeah. Because
I have a big tendency not to ask that second question.
Yeah.
I can be really good about being here in the now without paying any attention to how I'm feeling about it.
That's so funny. So like, even if you're feeling like really down, you won't even realize it sometimes because you're just in getting it done mode.
A lot less than I used to, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gotcha. I mean, there was a time where I'd be down and I wouldn't have a clue. I think I told that story a few times, how this was about 15 years ago, something like that. I was and leading into about 12, 13 years ago with the Great Recession, the 2008 financial crisis and all that, when my business collapsed and all kinds of stuff was just collapsing on me, and I was despondent a lot of the time. And I'm kind of amazed Louise stayed with me, because I was probably pretty miserable to live with, to be perfectly honest. But every once in a while, to try to shake things up, she'd come over, I'd be sitting on the couch, she'd push me over, climb on top, straddle me, grab me by the t-shirt and say, "Snap out of it."
There you go. You got yourself a good one, Walt.
And it worked, because I would laugh, right? And so that would break the spell for a short period of time anyway. And then I'd fall back into it. But that was a time when I really was not paying attention to how I was feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, I did on one level, because I knew I didn't feel good. Didn't feel good, rather. But by the same token, I wasn't paying attention to it as something that I needed to change.
Gotcha. Okay.
I was paying attention to it as something that needed to change as a result of some wonderful thing happening.
Right. Instead of inside. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
Looking for the outside influence to change it rather than the inside influence.
Yeah. Well, until we do the work, we always think it's everything else that has to change.
Oh, yeah.
It's always everything else that has to change. Yeah. If that was different, this would be great.
That's right. Yeah. It's that stupid person over there who's causing me all my problems.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah. God, yeah.
So I think that's really what's going on now. Even with the journaling, even with that block that I was talking about, or blocks where I have trouble connecting to how I'm feeling. It's because of that background, that, that old set of tapes, to use the psychology phrase.
Yeah.
They insist on keep playing, and I say, okay, yeah, go ahead.
So now you watched your movie and stuff. Is it like, and I know you do your walk and everything. Are you implementing any other like new like self-care things or whatever, since you have like a lot going on type thing? Or are you just making sure you still do like your just regular stuff because you're like, I'm already overwhelmed?
A little of both.
Okay.
A little of both. I find that I spend a fair amount of time wishing I had done more that day, and trying to remind myself, well, that means you can do it right now,
Oh, nice. That's a good one. You can always,
rather than regretting that I didn't do something earlier. On the other hand, most days I start off with some kind of some sort of process. I had set an intention about 2 months ago, people remember 3 months ago, of doing like this whole series of things every day. And I did that for a while, but that fell by the wayside.
Gotcha.
I still did 1 or 2 things, but I wasn't doing the whole list.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know exactly why I let that drop, but I did. It's such a soup of stuff. Trying to identify the elements it's kind of like trying to identify the flavors in a soup. Like, okay, I think there's some salt in there and some parsley. Not sure what else. Was there carrot in there? Maybe. It's that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So trying to identify that's probably not the best thing. I do know that the more that I pay attention, the more time I'm spending on what mental state and what emotional state do I want.
Nice.
And I'm trying to remind myself of that. Even if I'm not feeling it yet, I'm trying to remind myself, well, you don't have to necessarily feel it, just stay focused there.
Yeah.
If you're not feeling it yet, you will.
Yeah. Like when they tell you to smile and your brain chemicals just make you happier just from your smile, even if you're not really like, okay. Yeah.
And sometimes I can talk myself into that. Sometimes I can't. But I remind myself anyway. And on those times when I can remember, you got to try. And on those times that I remember, then I get extra benefit out of it. And if I don't remember, then I remember the next time.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. You talked about self-care. Probably the best kind of self-care I can do is not beating myself up when I screw up.
Yeah. That's what it's, yeah.
Seriously. Because I'm really good at that.
It's like a hard one to stop, I feel like.
Yeah. But by the same token, it's only hard to stop because I think it is.
Yeah. It depends too how long and how hard you've been doing it your whole life, So, yeah.
It does add up. It adds up over the years. And you feel it too. The older you get, the more you feel it. The more you're aware of it, of the history of it.
But at least it is history, present.
Right? Well, yeah, it is, as long as
it might still be a little lingering, but it's basically,
But if history is his story, and you keep telling the story, then it's not history anymore. It's present.
True.
Because every time you tell that story, you're bringing it into the present.
Very true.
So is it really history? I hope it is. If I'm treating it truly as history, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But if I'm treating it as a current story, that's not so good.
I like that.
Well,
I don't know if I've heard it like that before.
I'm learning a lot of different ways to convince myself to look at it differently.
Yeah, well, that's really good. That's great. That's a good one.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I appreciate it. I love all your tips. You always give me new tips, Walt.
Hey, glad to do what I can. That's why we do the show, right? We're sharing our tips with the world.
Yes. And all your listeners. That's why I know where I got half of my tips from.
I mean, you got you've been giving some tips too over time. I think one of the coolest ones is creating your, and I presume you're still doing this, creating your vision board on your wall.
Yes. Yeah, I can't find anything big enough except my wall to do that on. So yeah.
And I love that.
And then I have to see it every day. So it's like, because I don't want to focus too much on anything, but I don't want to not focus at all. So if it's in my face, it's kind of good. Like I see it at least once a day.
So do you shift it? Do you like change it around? Do you put different items on and pull stuff off when it no longer serves and stuff? You do. So you're updating it all the time.
Not all the time, but like if something new comes to me, like in the shower or something, like is normally where something will come to me, then I'll add it too. And then if something doesn't feel as like resonates with me as much anymore, then I'll take it off. I've only taken one thing off though, really, but like I add more than I take off.
So it's filling in pretty good. It's become something of a mosaic then.
Yeah, well, I also because I like to add more, just even like hobbies. I want to start doing like painting, for fun, more photography for fun. Like I love taking pictures of like sunsets, sunrises, like everything. I mean, nature in general. So yeah, I've been adding a lot of things on there. So just a bunch of things that I already like, but I guess I haven't just haven't started yet, basically.
So you take a picture of something, and if it's something that you really like the picture of, you print it out and put it on the wall.
Yeah, well, I'll just Google whatever, and then I'll just print it out and put it on there. And then some of them I'll write on there too, but like on it.
Maybe I misunderstood, but it sounded like you also will go out and you'll take, because you like doing photography. Do you take pictures of stuff, and then after you've done a session, do you kind of look through your photos and say, "Oh, I really like that one," and put it on the wall?
Oh, no, I have not done that. No.
Oh, you gotta try that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Because that's you, right?
Yes, and that'll probably get me going even more, doing it more frequent. So.
Yeah.
Well, once this cold weather's gone, boy, I'll be extra happy and extra outside all the time. Yes.
I hear you. Yes.
Yes. I can't.
Yeah, it's hard to get out there. I have to admit, I haven't been getting out lately, and I miss it. I'm waiting for the weather to warm up. I mean, I can handle cold temperatures, but 0 degrees Fahrenheit just isn't my style.
I had to, and then I told myself from then on, I don't have any excuses, because it was 2 degrees and I walked, and that was like the coldest I ever walked in. But I hadn't been out, and I was like, no, I'm going to do it. So now I'm like, okay, I walked in 2-degree weather. I really don't have an excuse now for any day. It's not normally under 2 degrees.
This is true.
So now I'm like, if you already walk 2 miles in 2-degree weather, you can do it any day. You do not have an excuse. Because sometimes I am like, oh my God, it's really cold. Now I'm just like, dude, don't look at what the weather is. Just go. Just don't look. Just go. Because I'm the type of person that would be better if I didn't look and would just go.
That's very cool.
Don't know and just go. Because it's really all mind over matter anyway. By the time I get out there, I'm just so happy I'm out there. I'm not cold, and I hate it. Yeah. But you're like, I'm just not, because it's just like, oh, thank God I'm out here feeling all free. Like, So, yeah.
As you were describing that, I was realizing that my excuse, like we have no excuse, as you said, but my excuse was that I was so busy doing. Well, I have too much to do here. I can't go out. And this wasn't like this long drawn out thought process. This is like quick thought. Okay, done. I can't move. I can't go out. I have to go on to the next thing. But as I think about it, I realize, wow, I was basically setting myself up with the lamest of possible excuses.
Well, it's not even. It's like the easiest excuse and most that makes sense, right? Like, I don't have time to do this, but we always say we don't have time to do so many things. But if we don't have time to do self-care, then our cup's just empty, and then we're not going to be able to do anything for anyone, even ourselves. So yeah, we just shoot ourselves in the foot. But it's so easy to, do that when you do have so much going on. You have so much that you're like, nope, I need this done, this needs to be done. And then you don't leave any time for yourself.
You're not leaving any time for yourself. And I think it's another form of beating yourself up. I really do.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you're not doing self-care, yeah, definitely.
Well, not only that, I'm giving into that pattern of, well, I have to be a doer all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm using that as an excuse for not doing the thing that would actually help me feel better.
When
in fact, I mean, even if I took a half-hour walk, I mean, how much is that going to really take out of my workday? It's going to take a half an hour. Yeah,
and they say all you need is the half hour for the nature and your brain chemicals and all that good stuff to.
So why didn't I go out there? Well, because I allowed an old program to convince me not to. That's really what that is.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. It's ridiculously
Yeah.
easy. Oh.
Yeah. But then you just feel so much better after you do it. You'll go out tomorrow and you'll feel great. Well,
I actually, because of this conversation, I
I know
probably
I
will.
feel bad. Well, I don't feel bad because I think you will go out tomorrow and you'll feel great.
Oh yeah, I don't feel bad about that at all. To me, it's this is an example of developing self-awareness,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah, half the
noticing
time
my
when I'm
pattern.
talking, I figure things out about, and I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you do audio journaling?
I do not.
You don't? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Neil was
Mm-mm.
talking about that. He does a lot of audio journaling.
I'm so old school, boy. I don't know what's up with me. I like pen and paper. Like, I really do. Like, I'll try and be commenting when I'm like talking and I'm like, how are these people doing this? Like, yeah, I'm definitely more old school. So, no, I don't audio. Yeah, no.
So they don't let you into the millennial club meeting because you don't do the millennial thing, you
Oh
do the
my
old thing?
God. Yeah, they would kick my ass out. They don't kill me. I swear to God. I swear. Mm, yeah.
Oh, yes.
But
Generational stuff.
that's okay. I'm good because pens and papers are still here. So we're
They
cool.
are. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're all good.
Actually, I have to get a
But
new notebook. I filled up my notebook, but it's little. I keep it by my side here to make quick notes on stuff. It's not a journal or anything like that,
mhm.
but it shows you can, even when you're doing that stuff. I've gone through. This is like my 5th notebook in the last 6 years. I
Yeah.
mean, you fill them up
Well,
pretty
I'm
quick.
like you. I used to not like to journal either, really. I only did it, like I used to tell you, I only did it when I was trying to figure something out, like why I was annoyed or whatever, and it would help me then. But yeah, ever since Taya, thank God, I'm like you. Like now, it is obviously easier to do because you've been doing it, because you have to do it and everything. But yeah, no, I definitely am not an audio. I'm a writer, but I still don't journal every day.
That's why I mentioned the audio thing, because after Neo told me that he does it fairly frequently, in fact, he spends a lot of time on it, I tried it at one point in the last 2 weeks. I don't remember exactly what the occasion was, but it was an occasion where I felt like I was at kind of an emotional crossroads. Like I hadn't made a lot of progress on something, and I was feeling dragged down and so forth. So I figured, well, maybe I can work this through with audio journaling. It was late at night. Louise had already gone to bed, and so the bedroom door was closed, and I just pulled out my phone, turned on a voice recorder, and just started talking into it. And I was amazed at how well through that process I was able to work through the thing I was dealing with. I'm trying to remember what it was I was dealing with so I can tell the full story, but I'm kind of blocked on it right now. But
That's
whatever it
okay.
was, I mean, it was something where I worked through it pretty quickly, a lot more quickly than I would have by writing it.
Okay. Do you know why that was? Is it just because you don't normally like to write, or was it just like that helped you more for some?
Possibly both. I mean,
Okay.
certainly the fact that I don't like to write is going to inhibit me when it comes to working through something. Um, and the fact that,
Maybe I'll try.
doing an audio recording, it's kind of like doing a podcast, right? Because on a podcast,
Mm.
you're talking into a mic, you're talking to one or two other people, but you're just talking into a mic,
Yeah, so
and
you're
you're
more used
explaining
to that
yourself.
anyway.
Yeah, so I figured give that a shot. So I haven't gone back to it, but maybe I should.
Hey, I might give it a go now. Why
Yeah.
not? Why not? Can't hurt.
I'm trying to remember what it was, because I achieved a breakthrough with it. I can't remember what the breakthrough was, but it was a pretty big deal. It
Hmm.
was something that had been kind of making me. It had been really holding me back. I had felt miserable because of it, and whatever the breakthrough was, I just felt lighter afterward.
I'm gonna have to try that. I hope you remember what it was.
I'll try to remember.
Yeah.
It was within the last 2 weeks. You should think I'd be able to think what it was.
Well, you've had a lot going on, man.
Yeah, that's
Have you
true.
even been able to play your piano yet?
I have actually.
Oh,
In fact,
good.
today was the first day I haven't played in about 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. So you've been able to. Good,
And the only
good.
reason I didn't play was I was watching a movie,
Which was perfect for you
which is
today.
fine.
So that's awesome.
No, I mean, some days it's only 15 minutes, but hey, it's just a question of doing it over and over again so that you can reintroduce those patterns that your hands used to know 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And they are coming back. Not all of them yet, but I can tell. I mean, there are some times where with some of these exercises, all of a sudden I'm flying through them like, oh yeah, I remember this.
Nice.
And then the fingers hit the wrong notes. Oh yeah, I remember that too.
Of course, right? Of course.
In fact, there have been a couple times where I woke up in the middle of the night and I said, oh, I can play piano. Louise won't hear it because I'll have headphones on.
Oh.
So I went into the other room where the piano is, and it's actually this room here, and just started playing. And I mean, if you hear
Well, that's
without
kind of perfect.
the headphones, all you hear is this keys being pushed down. It's, like a typewriter without clicking.
Yeah, that's perfect. Now, if you ever can't sleep, are you one of those who will try and meditate as well, or listen to like a guided meditation if you can't sleep?
Often, yeah. That's been my pattern for the past 6 to 8 months or so.
Okay.
But
now,
I
do
also
you meditate or does it put you to sleep?
Yes.
Because both has happened to me as well. But often it will put me to sleep, which is awesome because that's what
that's what I was trying to do in the first place. So I'm okay with that. Yeah, it doesn't work so good during the day, but at night, yeah, perfect. Let's go for it. But lately, I've been saying to myself, I don't really want to meditate. I'm awake. I know I need more sleep, but I've already. And this is on a night where I went to bed early. Lately, a lot of nights I've been going to bed like 8 o'clock, 7:30, because I just so much needed to. So by 2 or 3, I've got like 6-7 hours sleeping. So of course I'm waking up. Not a big surprise going on there. And on those nights, it's like I'm not really ready to wake up yet and get up and go run the day and so forth. I know I need an hour or 2 more, but I don't really want to meditate my way to sleep because I got some energy. So those are the kinds of days I'm thinking get up, and I've only done it 2 or 3 times so far, but get up and go play some piano for a bit.
Yeah. I'll get up and I'll just start my morning routine because I've been waking up like at 3. I don't mind 4 or after. I'm used to that. That's fine. 3 though, brutal. So, but it's like for me, it's just better to just get up and just start doing my morning like routine and everything because it's very calming anyway. It's just all grounding exercises basically and stuff. So because I find if I try to even lay there in the morning and do that, even with the meditation, I can't. It'll just end up like I'll just get irritated. So I just have to get up and start moving and start doing stuff. Yeah. And then I'll have to do the meditation later. But if it's in the middle of the night, I can do that.
Because the process they teach us in the Thai boot camp, the 3-step process, so the low thought activity, gratitude, appreciation stuff, and then the meditation. I'm realizing that you can do that and not make it that rigid. So for instance, today, the equivalent of the meditation was watching the movie. And before that, I did some affirmations. And before that, the low thought activity was, I think it was catching up on emails or something like that. It was truly low thought. I didn't have to. Oh, I know what it was. I have a web server where I still have some client websites on it. And there were some updates that needed to be done there. And so it's very easy for me to do. I mean, somebody who's not in tech, they'd be confused as heck. But for me, it's very simple. So it's like washing the dishes, press the button. Okay, wait for that one. It was that kind of thing. And so I realized after the fact, I had actually done the 3-step process without realizing it.
Yes.
I did the low thought activity. I did some affirmations because that's when I started to do some journaling. And then I kind of lost interest and started watching the movie. And afterward, I realized, well, that's the 3-step process. Just not the typical way of doing it.
Yeah, I do. I'm kind of the same way. My meditation is not always just, I'm not always just, I can't just always sit and do the guided meditation or a meditation. You know what I mean? I do a different form of meditation. Yeah. Whether it's dancing, my walking, whatever. Yeah. I can't always just sit. I like to dance a lot. I have to. It just gets my energy out. I have a lot of energy. So especially if I'm not working at the moment, like, I'm going to be walking way more, dancing way more. Yeah, it's just going to naturally, but like I told you, I want to have my dance class where I'm doing it every morning. And I want people to come and we're going to be on the beach, my dream home on the beach, in the backyard, on the beach, dancing every morning to raise our vibe. Because why not dance out the stale energy right? And get ready for the day. And it's a great form of exercise.
I love it.
And who doesn't like to dance? You know, you might think you don't. I think if no one's watching, I think everybody likes to dance. Just saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have like dance styles or is it just free form or what kind of
I
dance
like free form the best.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the choreographed one, I think all that's awesome. But since I also do yoga and stuff like that, I would like to incorporate like a yoga and like yoga in the beginning and then dance and then a yoga to like, you know, come and chill you back out. You know what I mean? So yeah, I have an idea, but I do not have my whole, you know, process yet. But.
We're inspiring Sam in the live stream. I don't know if you saw it, but he was saying earlier that our conversation was inspiring him to brave the cold some more. And now he just says I'm the same way regarding dancing. So
yay. That's what's up. See, Sam's gonna be with me in my backyard on the beach one day.
I believe that.
Dancing. Yeah, it's raising our vibe before we start the day.
I'll tell you what, when you were describing that, the reason that I hesitated for a moment there is I had this impression in my mind of you doing like live routines on a dance with people on a beach with people around you.
That's exactly what I want to do. It's on my wall. It's on my wall.
I mean, it reminds me back in the day, like 1980s, there was a woman who did a show like that on cable TV named Denise Austin. Okay. And every single day she was doing her stuff. And I thought to myself, I could just see Bridget as the new Denise Austin. I could see that.
Oh, I love you, Walt. Thank you.
I could. It just popped right in as soon as you described it. I said, yeah.
I really want to. I mean, what better way to start your day than just, you know, getting all your stale energy out and just raising your vibe and dance and some yoga with some awesome people on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, man. Oh, yeah. That's how I'd love to start my day.
And by the way, I don't even remember what caused me to think of this, but I looked up Denise Austin recently just to see where she at and so forth. And I think she's a few years older than I am. Saw a picture of her. She was looking great.
Oh, I'm sure.
She was looking really great. So I'm sure she's kept up the exercise, even though she isn't doing the show anymore. Just goes to show you, you do something like that feeds you in a lot of different ways.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's just fun. It's liberating. And if you're outside on the beach near water, yeah, bring it on. Oh, yeah.
Do you like water as much as I do? I have a feeling you do. I'm
obsessed with the beach. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
How close to the water are you?
I mean, like an hour and a half from the Jersey beaches, but no, I want to live on the beach.
Not close enough, in other words.
No. So I'm trying to manifest that. Well, no try, just do. So I am manifesting that. Mm-hmm. And
I presume that is on your wall.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Good. That's sure. Really good. That dreaming time, that's a good way to describe it. That's dreaming time. Mm-hmm. That dreaming time is so important. Yeah. I think that's what I was talking about earlier when I was saying I was having trouble connecting into it. I was having trouble connecting into the dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's when I'm like, no. And then it's like when you can get it back and you're like, yes. Yeah. Like it's never gone. You just have to get back to you.
That's right.
Go back on your walk, go start dancing, go do something. Then you get your momentum and your motivation and your inspiration and everything you had. Anyway, you get it all back. It was just chilling down there when you weren't vibing as high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I made reference to the workshop that we did with Dan. I never actually finished that story, but I'm intently focused on what he's going to be leading me through. And he starts off by asking me what goal, what's you trying to do here? And I said, I'm trying to get to where I'm going. Oh, yeah. And then he led me into a place of, well, imagine you're on that path now. And on a scale, I think he said on a scale of 1 to 10, how far along that path are you? And without hesitating, I said 2 or 3. And so I think what he did was something like, okay, let's imagine that you're at that you go forward until you reach a 4. What's a 4 like? And I don't remember what I said about that. And then he asked me what I was seeing. I think I'm skipping some steps here. I think there was something else that's happened in there, and that's why I'm hesitating. But at one point there, he then asked me, "What are you seeing?" And I didn't see anything. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm realizing, well, first of all, this is partly because I have trouble creating images in my mind. But also, there was this feeling there. I said, well, it's like a shadow. And so he had me do a little spontaneous shadow work right then and there. He said, bring that shadow over next to you. And so I mentally brought it over next to me to my right-hand side. And he said, now love on it. I think that's the way he said it. And so I did, like I imagined like it was coming into me. And I'm pretty sure I let out like a sigh as that was happening, because what I was experiencing was, it's like it's like it and me merged together.
Yeah.
And in that merging, there was a release.
That's so cool. I'm so glad you got to have that time, and you guys didn't run out of time.
Well, what it did after the fact, as I kind of reflected on that experience, I realized I just identified a block that I knew there were blocks there that I couldn't identify. I've known that for some time. I found one of them. And basically reintegrated it into me.
Yeah, by loving it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's awesome.
And what that also reminded me of is that anytime that I'm feeling that disconnect, like I can't connect into the feeling, that's a block. And the trick, as Dan's example showed me, what he led me through, is to love on it. So I'm trying to remind myself, whenever I'm feeling blocked, pretend for a moment that it's a shadow and I need to love it.
I love that. Oh, another good one.
I'm still working on that one. I haven't got that one down yet, but I've tried it a few times. And
I'm definitely going to try it.
It certainly hasn't been bad.
I don't think it could be. It doesn't sound like it could be.
No, not really.
Oh, I like that one.
I think I wanted to make sure I said it on today's show, just so that you put it out into the universe, you announce it in public. So now you have to actually do it. Seriously, that's part of the reason. That's one of the reasons I tell so many of my personal stories on the air, because it's kind of an incentive to me. Okay, now you put it out there. What you gonna do about it?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Sort of like self accountability.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to do that more.
Walt Easton and his awesome tips. Should be called Tips Tuesday. You should name it that.
I think you just did, actually. Tips Tuesday. Yeah. Welcome to LOA Today Tips Tuesday.
Yeah. I love it.
That's good.
You just brightened my day, Walt.
You brightened my day. Hey, that's pretty good. I'm going to write that one down. Tips Tuesday. That's a really good one.
Just brightening my day on up.
You know what's so funny about it, too, is I don't really think I'm giving a tip. I feel like I'm just telling what I'm dealing with, and you're the one who's calling it a tip.
Well, I take it all in, and I take your tips. They are tips. There's tips in there. Look, Sam knows it. Yep.
Yeah, and he likes Tips Tuesday, too.
We love you, Sam.
Excellent.
So exciting. I love you guys.
Well, once again, the show has done what I love for it to do. It helps me feel better as I help everybody else feel better.
Amen to that.
Talk about relief and release, right?
Yes.
So important. Well, thank you, my dear. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for the role you play. At some point, we got to give you credit for what you're doing. You're giving tips yourself, and you haven't recognized it yet. So we'll talk about that next week.
Oh, thanks, Walt.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you to Sam and to everybody else listening on the live stream, and to podcast listeners everywhere. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.